Welcome to FXStreet. If you like what we are doing here, please join us on YouTube and hit the subscribe button on our channel. And specifically, if you like what myself and Akash are doing, please follow us on our Twitter at Mangyeko, that is Akash, and then myself at Just Analysis 1. First one we're taking a look at today is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's had a pretty good move up, obviously getting close to levels where it could test its prior all-time highs and then push on towards new all-time highs. Structurally, when you look at the $1,000 three-box reversal chart, you have a pretty standard looking inverse head and shoulder pattern with that neckline break, and it's just kind of continuing to move higher. The only thing that makes me a little nervous about how much higher it can go presently is that this column of X's is quite massive. It's quite in point and figure analysis, these kinds of moves where there's 15 or more X's or O's in a single column, it's called a spike, and they are typically indicative of something very overdone. And so, whatever happens, I mean, it could, not saying it can't move higher. That's one of the natures of spike patterns, is that they can just keep, kind of building on their own momentum and keep moving. But just structurally, they don't really go up much further than this. That doesn't mean it can't. Again, ideally, what we'd see here is a pullback to retest the neckline of this head and shoulder pattern. So a return to that 50 to 54K value area to retest that as support before then jumping up higher. The $500 three-box reversal chart, though, shows a really clear example of a bullish continuation pattern known as an ascending triangle. So you've got this triple top, which is a very bullish setup, and then the old school way of doing this is entering at the break of the triple top, so that would be at 63.5K. The target on that is up at 68.5K. That's in the short-term target. So off of this really bullish continuation pattern and really bullish setup, there's further upside potential in the short run here, meaning towards the rest of this week at 68.5K. But otherwise, I mean, you've got the ETF, futures ETF that was approved. It's not a spot ETF, but the SEC just approved the futures ETF. And if it follows historical releases like that before, those are bearish events for Bitcoin. When the Chicago Board of Trade, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and the BOCT futures, when those were launched, Bitcoin experienced some pretty heavy selling. So, the first day of trading on that new futures ETF in the US markets will begin today. And so it'll be interesting to see how that affects Bitcoin's price. Has the price action priced it in, or has it not priced it in? That's going to be the big question. But that's what I see for Bitcoin. I mean, it definitely has potential to keep moving up towards 68.5K, but at the same time, it is very overdone, and we could see a pullback down to the 50 to 54K value area. I'll pass it off to you, Akash.
Awesome. That was a really good point that you just brought up, which is how Bitcoin generally reacts bearish. Good news reacts to good news in a bearish way. And yeah, right now, I think for me, the resistance level sits at around 63,707. And the trend-based fib extension also shows a resistance around 63,233. As for the on-chain metrics, there isn't any really like resistance levels for BTC. We recently closed above the 60K cluster of investors. So I am honestly expecting like a pullback, just like you did, but not that deep, which is probably to 58K, anywhere between 58K to 55K. But if you look at the liquidity, I think there's a lot of liquidity resting below these lows over here, which extends from 52 to 53. approximately 54,000. So this is where I'm expecting Bitcoin to pull back in the short term before it actually goes higher. But I'm not quite sure if it's going to happen after a retest of the all-time high or like it's going to happen right now. That's all I have to add. Another thing is the daily active addresses are showing a divergence. So you can see the price has been going higher, but the addresses have declined lately. So this is another reason why I'm expecting a bearish outlook. Apart from that, the both the 365-day and the 30-day MVRV are like at a really higher levels. At least from from a longer term time frame perspective, I think 365-day MVRV is kind of in the safe zone, but the 30-day MVRV is approaching levels it did back in August 10th, where Bitcoin peaked around $52,000. So I am expecting a pullback for Bitcoin, and the initial levels are anywhere above 55K. But if it does dip below 55K, I'm expecting it to collect liquidity resting here, 52,000 to 54,000. That's my take on BTC.